Good morning. Imagine being caught between two completely different worlds, shaped by contrasting ways of life. Picture being born in Germany, yet immersed in an ancient practice rooted deep within the Shaolin Temple. Now, growing up in a traditional Asian household comes with some unspoken rules. Rule number 1, never ever argue with your father. Rule number 2, your career options are basically a strict trilogy: doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Anything else? Well, let's just say your parents' disappointment could probably fuel a small power plant. So, with those expectations firmly set, the academic path became almost inevitable. 2 university degrees, an MBA, and a collection of shiny certificates and diplomas. Everything that would make any parent beam with pride. On paper it was perfection. In reality, not so much. Because despite knowing how plants grow, what atoms are made of, and how political systems keep people at each other's throats, one critical subject never made it into the curriculum: understanding yourself. That's where the twist came in. At just 4 years old, an unexpected door opened, a glimpse into the ancient practices of monastic life. Imagine that. A kid discovering a path to self-exploration, while other kids were just figuring out how to tie their shoelaces. It was like stumbling upon a secret treasure map. These teachings weren't just about throwing punches or breaking boards. They were about mastering your mind, shaping your behavior, and building physical discipline. Everything eventually known as Shaolin Kung Fu. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Despite the relentless pressure to step out and take on the world like some overzealous superhero, a choice was made to do something almost scandalous. Choose a path of monastic life instead. Why? Simple. Because before conquering the world, it made sense to conquer the self. When asked to reflect on what truly matters in life, it's like trying to pack 3 decades of hard-earned wisdom into a single soundbite. But if you strip away all the noise, one truth stands out. It's about sharing your journey with others, building genuine connections, and never stopping your own growth. Sometimes it's about enjoying the silence and just being. No distractions, no expectations. Above all, it's about relentlessly pursuing what lights your soul on fire no matter what anyone else thinks. And when the invitation came to speak at this event under the theme, High, Higher, Highest, a story immediately came to mind. It's one that perfectly sums up the essence of this journey. Passed down from a master of the Shaolin Temple. Trust me, it's one of those stories that'll make you rethink just about everything. Alright, listen up. Once, there was this guy living near a massive mountain, one of those majestic, almost intimidating ones that just beg to be climbed. Every single day he'd stare at it, daydreaming about what it would be like to stand on that peak and look down at the world from up high. You know the feeling, the craving to conquer something just because it's there. One day, he finally decided it was time to go for it. He made his way to the base of the mountain, fired up and ready, when he ran into another traveller. Naturally, he asked, "So how did you get to the top? What did you see up there?" The traveller, proud as ever, rattled off his path and raved about the incredible view. But here's the kicker: the man didn't like the sound of it. Too grueling, too exhausting. Nah, not his vibe. So, he figured, there's got to be a better way, an easier way. He kept walking around the base, looking for someone else who might have taken the scenic route. Eventually he ran into another traveller and, like a broken record, asked the same thing. "How'd you get up there, and what did you see?" Sure enough, the second traveller had a different story, but guess what? The man still wasn't convinced. That sounds like too much work. There's got to be a smarter way. 30 more travellers later, yeah, you heard that right, 30. He finally decided he didn't need to climb at all. Why bother when everyone's already described it? Why break a sweat when he could just piece together the stories and feel like he'd been there himself? Spoiler alert, he never made it up that mountain. Not one step. Now here's the punchline. The poor guy completely missed the point. All that time spent gathering opinions, looking for shortcuts, and he never actually experienced the climb. See, everyone has to find their own path. Doesn't matter how many stories you hear or how much advice you get. Some things just can't be handed to you on a silver platter. Clarity. You can't fake it. You only get it when you're standing on the peak, seeing it with your own eyes. Climbing that mountain is like putting in the work to master your own life. Sure, you can read books, watch motivational videos, or follow some life guru on Instagram, but none of that compares to the grind, the hustle, the sweat you put into getting your own wins. Clarity means seeing the big picture without having someone else spell it out for you. It means making decisions without needing a pep talk every 5 minutes. But hey, reality check. There are roadblocks, mental traps that mess with your head and slow you down. At the Shaolin Temple, they call them the 5 hindrances. Basically, mind games that trick you into thinking you're on the right track when you're not. The first one, sensual desire. Yeah, it's that shiny object syndrome. Anything that grabs your attention and makes you feel good for a hot second. It could be that new car smell, a catchy song, or just scrolling mindlessly through social media because it feels good in the moment. The problem? It fogs up your mind, makes your judgment wobbly, and before you know it, you're stuck at the base of that mountain again, just like our guy. Think about it. How often do you get distracted chasing quick hits of pleasure while your real goals gather dust? It's tempting. But it's also the first trap that'll keep you at the bottom, wishing you'd just taken the damn climb. Imagine this. You're on a mission, climbing that metaphorical mountain in your mind. You've been hustling for what feels like an eternity, muscles aching, thoughts racing, and suddenly you stumble upon this fancy little paradise. A restaurant straight out of a magazine packed with beautiful people who seem to have life all figured out. The smell of gourmet food and exotic cocktails hits you like a dream. Your brain's telling you, hey, maybe I deserve this. Maybe I should just stay here and soak it in. But the second you give in, that tiny moment of weakness spirals out of control. Temptation doesn't just tap you on the shoulder, it wraps itself around your mind like a python, squeezing out every bit of clarity you had left. Congratulations, you've officially lost your way. You see, the problem isn't just giving in, it's what happens when you refuse to let go. The more you cling to that indulgence, the more it becomes an obsession. Your progress? Stuck. Your ambition? Eaten alive by your craving to stay comfortable. But that's not the only curveball life throws at you. Enter obstacle number 2, ill will. You know what I'm talking about. Those days when everything and everyone just rubs you the wrong way. Your mood sours like spoiled milk, and suddenly you're mad at the world for things that barely even matter. You're hiking through life's challenges and boom, rainstorm. You hate rain. Next, the road's bumpy. Nope, not a fan of that either. Then there's a river to cross, but swimming? Please, you'd rather complain about it. Here's the real kicker. That resentment doesn't just slow you down, it poisons every step forward. It's like carrying a bag of rocks on your back and wondering why you're exhausted. Letting go of that irritation? Not easy, necessary, absolutely. Then comes the ultimate buzzkill, sloth and torpor. Yeah, I said it. That ugly combo of dragging feet and foggy thoughts that turn even the simplest task into an Olympic event. You're not just tired, you're stuck. You feel like you're in a jail cell made of laziness and self-doubt, with motivation buried 6 feet under. It's not just a slump, it's a full-blown mental lockdown. You're convinced that moving is pointless, and getting up feels like a chore. You're trapped, but deep down you know the truth, you've got to claw your way out. The world's not waiting for you to feel motivated. You either find a way to shake it off or stay stuck. But wait, just when you think you've got it figured out, along comes restlessness. Your mind's like a caffeinated squirrel, darting between regret and worry. One moment you're brooding over the past, the next you're anxious about the future. Staying present. Forget about it. It's like trying to pin down a tornado. Your mind's on the run, constantly chasing shadows instead of planting its feet and dealing with the now. And finally, the crown jewel of self-sabotage, skeptical doubt. You think you're being practical, but really you're just spinning your wheels. Can I do this? Am I even capable? What if they think I'm a joke? Your brain turns into a courtroom where you're both the defendant and the prosecutor. No verdict, just endless arguments. And guess what? That indecision leaves you paralyzed, rooted in place while life marches on without you. You can't chase your dreams because your brain keeps second-guessing every move like a paranoid detective. So now that you've seen these 5 sneaky hindrances for what they are, the question is, what's your game plan? Are you going to let them dictate your life, or are you going to take the reins and move forward? You know the mountain isn't going to climb itself, so what are you going to do about it? Let's be real. Feeling stuck is like being caught in quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. You keep pushing, keep grinding, but success just slips through your fingers like sand. Why? Because your mind's got some serious roadblocks, and they're not going anywhere unless you change the game. Imagine this. Dark clouds hanging heavy over your thoughts, soaking your mind in doubt and confusion. You keep trying to force your way through, but it just gets messier. Here's the trick. Let it rain. Let that storm pour down on you. Sometimes the only way to clear the sky is to let the chaos happen. Embrace it. Now, breaking through those mental barriers, it's not magic, but it's definitely a method. 4 steps. That's it. The first one, recognize. Yeah, it sounds simple, but most people never do it. Stop and actually notice where your head's at. Take a good hard look at what's messing with you. No sugarcoating, no pretending it's fine. Own it. Then comes the part nobody likes. Acceptance. And I'm not talking about giving up or waving a white flag. I'm talking about letting it be. Whether it's that stubborn problem, that annoying person, or that feeling gnawing at your gut, just let it exist without fighting it. Sometimes it's not about changing it. It's about not letting it change you. Next up, investigate. Yeah, go full detective on your own mind. Ask yourself, why did this feeling even pop up? What set it off? And here's the kicker. What's going to happen if you stay in that headspace? When you break it down like that, it's like shining a flashlight on the monster under your bed. It's not so scary when you see it clearly. And finally, non-identification. This one's huge. Stop thinking you're your thoughts or emotions. You're not your anxiety, your anger, or your exhaustion. You're the one observing all that mess. Picture it like watching cars on a highway. They're moving, but you're just sitting there, watching them pass. Your journey? Uniquely yours. Quit trying to steal someone else's roadmap when yours is already being written. So, here's the deal. You keep climbing, pushing, moving forward. And when you finally hit that peak, trust me, I'll be there, nodding like, told you so.